Thank you for staying with us. The Nigeria Labour Congress has suspended their planned nationwide strike over the removal of fuel subsidy. This decision followed a 6-hour meeting with the organized labor and the federal government on Monday night. The Speaker, House of Representatives, Bajabiamila, who announced the resolutions, said the federal government, Trade Union Congress, and Nigeria Labour Congress would establish a joint committee to review the proposal for any wage increase and establish a framework and timeline for implementation. He said the organized labor and federal government would review World Bank financed cash transfer scheme and proposed inclusion of low-income earners in the program. As part of the resolutions, he says the federal government, TUC and NLC would also review the CNG conversation program earlier agreed with labor centers in 2021 and work out detailed implementation and timing. The organized labor and federal government are to meet again on June the 19th to agree on an implementation framework. Well, joining us in the studio is a public analyst and agriculturist, Wale Oyikoya. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having you.
Right. Let's even begin, before we get into labor and the fact that they have suspended their strike. When you heard the president in his inaugural speech say, fuel subsidy is gone, what was your reaction when you heard that statement, especially how it would affect your sector, the agricultural sector?
To me, the president is very courageous in the sense that people does not really know the history and how this subsidy have come about. Subsidy had been around since early part of 70s. And some of these successful governments doesn't have the courage to do what the president have done. Either the military head of state or the democratic elected presidents have tried all their possible best, they couldn't do it. Even Goodluck Jonathan, 2011, remembered, when the price of the oil was still 65 naira, then the PMS. Around that time, when he tried to remove the subsidy, the prices went to 200. What happened? The same labor union, all these organized laborers, they were all outside there. They said, no, we don't want this. What happened? They reversed back. Had it been that the successful government had been trying to remove the subsidy, gradually, we would have found ourselves in the problem we have today. You have to remember, if you remember the former Minister for Finance, Okonjo-Iweala, you know they kidnapped her mother because of this issue of subsidy then. She came out to say that it's only 147 Nigerian citizens share this amount of 1.2 trillion every month then. The woman couldn't believe that. How are we going to survive as a nation when few people, less than 200 people, are sharing this amount of money? And that is why you find corruptions everywhere, because these people are so powerful. And for us to have a courageous president to really come out, and to me, it's a promise made and promise kept.
Right.
He said it, that immediately I become the president, I'm going to remove the subsidy. He wasn't the only one.
Yes.
All the other presidential candidates
They were
said
unified.
it. There was a unified something.
Yes.
So what have really changed? Nothing. So this thing has been like an organized crime against the citizens of Nigeria. And for somebody to really come out, courageous, say, enough is enough. We need to give it to the president. And we need to support him. And let us see what is really going to come out of all this. Rome was not built in a day.
Absolutely.
This thing has been there for years. And for somebody to really come out that this thing must be changed, we have no other choice. Let the labor, the organized labor, let them come to the table with the federal government, see and hear them out what they're going to do. This government is just 1 week today. What are we talking about? The man said what he says he's going to do. So let us believe that it's going to be a government that is going to keep to his promise. And to me, the first week the man had been there, I gave him a pass mark.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, it's going to be rough. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to affect everybody.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, but let us start from somewhere. And let us give him the opportunity to really come out his agenda.
So talking about, because why you were trying to, create a background as to when the subsidy issue, started, back in the 80s.
In the 70s.
In the 70s.
Yes.
It goes to show that there's a lot of fraud that had really gone on in this, payment of subsidy and all of that.
Yes.
Are you also queuing behind those who are saying that it has to be probed how we've expended this fuel subsidy since especially 2005 to date? So where do you stand on this, or do you feel that they should just allow it to go and start it turn a new leaf?
If they allow it to go, then that means there's no reprisal. That means the coming people or the government we do the same thing. They say, oh, nothing happened. As I said, this thing is like an organized crime against the Nigerian citizens. Here we produce oil and we are suffering. We are one of the largest producers of oil in the whole. In fact, I think we are number 7th in the world. The first in the whole of African nations. Why are we suffering? And until importation of some of these items are waived or removed, we keep on having the same problem. Yeah, I'm of the opinion that the people that have stashed away our trillions of naira should be probed. We need this money. This government needs every penny to move this government forward, because there's no money in the coffer. And I will advise the president, because the people thought that maybe the outgone president left so much money in the coffer. You need to come out that this is the asset I inherited, these are the liabilities I've inherited. That way people will be able to weigh the options of what we have. There's no money in the coffer. Let the whole nations know, so that they will not be thinking that, oh, he left some trillions of naira for him to kickstart the government. Say, I'm of the opinion that why do you have the ICPC, why do you have the EFCC if they cannot do their job? The president does not have to do their job for them. They don't have to get any permission from the president. It's an agency on its own that's supposed to know the right thing to do and make sure that they bring the people to book, or they have really suffered this country.
Now, some will ask if we'll be able to muster that courage to do that now that we have, taken the courage to remove the fuel subsidy. But like you mentioned, these are powerful people.
Yes.
Do we have the courage to go after them to ensure that we hold them to account and they return some of these monies back to the coffers of the country?
Yes, yes.
Do we have that courage?
Yes. To me, if the president can start this way, that subsidy is removed, I wish you could see the face of some people of the so-called cabal. It's like, oh, it's like a balloon that has been deflated. If he could be courageous to say something that has not been done for the past 30, 40 years, I believe he can do it. To me, the citizens of Nigeria will be very appreciative if he doesn't have to name them. But in order for us to block that avenue so that it will not happen, it will not repeat itself, why do we keep on having all these ministers of petroleum? Sometimes I wonder, when they say they sit down at the FEC meeting every week, what do they discuss? Are they really discussing about how Nigerian citizens are suffering? Look at the cost of the food now. It's totally out of the reach.
Perhaps this is why he mentioned that the security chiefs have to go after oil theft, or those who are stealing our oil.
It's part of the steps. And but in the process of trying to go after them, definitely they have to step into some people's toe to know how is it happening. You remember one time when this new security they gave to them in the Niger Delta, when they arrested one ship that was loading some of our crude oil, what happened? Immediately they burn it. So all the investigations, all the evidence were lost. So that means the cabals are still working. Why do you have to burn the whole thing? Why can't you arrest them and do the investigation and block the loophole so that it will not happen again? Why do you have to burn? Immediately 3 months after, another shipload of our crude oil was arrested and was burned. So all these things need to be stopped so that the Nigerian citizens will know that, no, this president meant well for us. Without any investigation, they'll just be thinking, oh, it's another same story for another government to come.
Are you not worried of the maxim that has now come to, stay in Nigeria, especially in previous administrations, where they say, when you fight corruption, corruption fights back. And it manifests in a lot of ways in terms of
fighting
back. So we don't know the step, the angle that might actually come out in this administration. It's just starting out. It's just the new baby on Nigerians' hands they were trying to pamper.
Old.
You understand? So in what way do you think corruption fighting back might manifest in a way to maybe advise this current administration?
The new president we have today is very courageous. I keep on saying it. See, the word courage carries weight, and it's very bold. And he might not be able to go after all these cabals, all these people that have been stealing our crude oil. But trust me, there's going to be a pathway that is going to block those leakages so that in the future it will not happen again. Because I remember one time, how much are we buying oil, PMS? Just 20 naira per liters. What went wrong? We are still, in fact, we are getting more oil than that time. I'm talking when Obasanjo was there. I think it was less than 65. When Goodluck Jonathan was there, it was 65 naira. The same oil is still there. We're even getting more.
But that's not peculiar to Nigeria, is it?
Yeah, it's not peculiar, but because people have not been able to do the right thing. People have been shying away. Buhari meant well when he was there, but when you see the people surround you, it's like you are surrounded by a hawk. What are you going to do? He has been blindfolded. And
really?
Trust me.
He was a minister.
He was the minister, but what did he do? Nothing, absolutely nothing. He was just there on papers. He knew all this thing was going on, but with his age, sometimes we don't blame this man. He can only do within his capacity. And leave the rest that, he believed I have trusted soldiers.
But he also had the powers to call them to order when he knows what is going on.
Is whatever they bring to your table, you treat. If they don't bring to his knowledge, most of these leaders, when you get there, they monitor you, they try to tell you what to do. There are certain news that they block you away from. You understand? It's whatever they bring to him that, sign this and sign this thing, when you get to that stage, and this man does not want to die. If you see how much he be saying, I want to go and rest in Daura, I want to rest in Daura, he even have to sign an executive order that even if anything happened to him, that this new president must be sworn in to let you know that this man is tired. Did you hear what he said? He says it's easier for him to control his cow than to control Nigerian citizens.
Well, he made the promise to Nigerians that he was capable of dealing with the issues.
Accepted. But when you get to the table, you believe that what you are promising is totally different from what you found. That is why I keep on saying this president is very courageous. He knows what he's up to. He knows what he's getting into. He knows he's going to bruise some egos of some of these powerful people. And they know themselves.
So, to further demystify the issue of the NLC, TVC, who threatened to go on industrial action before, what would you advise so as to how they come to agree to the benefits of workers, consumers, and the nation at large?
I will say the so-called organized laborers, they are part of the problem of this country.
How so?
What way?
How so is that they knew this problem had been there since 70s. And they know this successful government have been trying to remove it. They are the one that will always rise up that no, it cannot happen. So why now that we saw somebody that wanted to help the citizens of the country? Now
they are saying it's the matter of cushioning the effect on citizens. That is
we are still coming to palliatives. This man have not said that he's not going to bring any palliatives. He just said subsidy removed. It does not mean that it's taking effect.
He actually confirmed that subsidy, there was no provision.
There's no provision.
For subsidy.
In the budget, yes.
Right.
In the budget.
But then it has been subsidized up until June.
Yes,
exactly.
End of June.
So why the pricing, change and all of that? I think that's where...
That's
why the
challenge with NLC.
They should channel with the NNPC. This man was not there when the budget for 2023, the budget lapses in June 30th. And the budget from July 1st have not been
done.
Have not been done. So this man was just saying that I promised that the subsidy is going to be removed. Now we are removing it, but they have not allowed him to roll out his palliative, like maybe to improve on our power generations, maybe on the transportation that is going to affect most of the workers, or maybe infrastructure to be improved, or maybe some of this money to be put into the agricultural sector, which is really, really affecting average Nigerians. Look at what is really happening to all the food. So we'll talk about that one later. Yeah. But to me, the right thing needs to be done at the right, and I believe this is the right.
He said that he would not call it palliative, so to speak, and that he is going to, whatever review that is being made, especially with regards to the wage review, it has to reflect current realities. And now when they had a conversation talking about organized labor with the federal government, organized labor is saying 200,000 is what we want for the Nigerian. I wonder how that comes to you, bearing in mind that we had a 30,000 naira minimum wage.
That's not be paid.
That some states cannot afford to pay, even as we speak. And then we are now looking at 200,000 naira. How realistic is that?
They know it's not realistic. It's just, they say ask, it shall be given. They were asking.
Right.
Knock, it shall be open. They are knocking to see what the president will say.
Whether the door will open or wide.
Or ajar. You understand? Or ajar. So it's left to the president to say,
okay, this is the level I can move, open the door.
Maybe at the end of the day, we are going to say, okay, we settle for 50,000 naira. I'm just speculative.
Yeah.
But that 200,000 is not realistic, because we see some of the state government that cannot even be able to pay for the 30,000 up to this moment. It's only Lagos State, Rivers State, and few states that are paying more than 30,000. So if the federal government say that's why they're having a tripartite meetings with the state government, because the state government has to be carried along.
Yes.
They are the one that
will make the payment.
To bear the brunt.
Yes.
They have to make the payment. So if there's definitely there's going to be an increase in the wages, because with the current situation in the country now, with the price of the oil, of the PMS, and the prices of food, definitely there's going to be an upward review. But that amount for 200,000, they know that it's not going to cut out.
What do you think would be realistic?
As I said, maybe 50,000.
States now who are not being able to make this payment, shouldn't they begin to look at how they can be creative enough?
That's what I'm saying.
To look inwards to generate revenue to addressing this matter?
Most of the state governments are very docile. They believe on this money they get from the central. It's now left for the government to call all the state governors to order. Go back home. Go and find a way where you can improve your IGR, where you can employ your people, and give the local governments power. Because local government are the people that are very closer to the people, followed by the state, followed by the federal government. The federal government has no business talking about wages. If the state have done the normal thing to their own citizens, there's no state that does not have comparative advantage, especially in terms of agriculture. What happened to all these groundnut pyramids we have in the olden days? What happened to the rubber plantation? What happened to the cocoa plantation? We still have the land. We still have the human capacity. So what is really wrong with us is because of this oil. But once now the government, the new president is saying that, no, let us leave oil alone. We can live without oil. The same way we have been living before, in the 50s, in the 60s, without the oil. Let us go back and improve on what we have. We have so many mineral resources untapped. You see some of these Chinese, they bring their drone into some state like Zamfara and be digging this gold and all the mineral resources in the middle of the night. Where are all the securities?
So a lot of security architecture really has to be reworked. Let's talk about pricing. We understand that back in the day, we used to buy SIM cards for 25,000 naira, 26,000 naira, or even more. And when it was deregulated, we now buy it for like 100 naira, just very cheaply. So the pricing of petroleum products, currently 488.
88, yes.
Let's say
Some
averagely
sell
500.
500 averagely. So what would you say regarding this? Do you think it's too much? Or do you think it should be reviewed backward to status quo, as TVC and NLC are asking the federal government to do?
When the time comes, all these prices will come down. When most of these modular refineries take effect, the government has no business. To me, with my own opinion, I don't believe the government should go and repair all these comatose refineries. Because they've been maintaining this, if you know how much billions that have been budgeted every year, still nothing is being done. Like in Venezuela, El Paso, Oklahoma, most of the refineries are being owned by private people. Give it to private sectors. You will see how they will turn around this thing. But by the time you say government should go and repair this, do that, are they not civil servants that's going to do it? So I believe that by the time most of these modular refineries that the government have been trying to bring to the system, the price will definitely come. Just like when they bring the MTN SIM card, not everybody could afford it. But look at it today. They are begging you. There was a time that they give it to you free.
It's highly competitive.
Exactly. So it's very competitive. So the law of the market is going to take effect by the time so many people are... by the time Dangote refinery takes effect, probably early part of next year, I don't believe it's going to be done this year.
Okay.
It's 80% completion. And other modular refineries and other private sectors come on board, the price will come down automatically. That is what the president is trying to do, that we are going to bring more refineries. And we don't have to be importing most of these PMS into the country when we can refine here. Because that is why the prices is so high. Because right now, they all deal with dollarization. It depends on the exchange rate. If you look at the exchange rate now, it's about 750 naira to $1. Right. So definitely we're going to the international market to buy this imported PMS into the country. But by the time we're able to refine our own here, it's going to reduce the price will automatically come down.
Right. Okay. Let's look at what the government says it will be channeling these monies into, talking about...
subsidy money.
Yes.
Okay.
Talking about education sector, the health sector, and just revamping some critical sectors in the society or in the country. But there are concerns from some persons that how do we insulate the money in such a way that insulate it from corruption, that yes, we are trying to save money, but there are those who might want to play smart, to still want to grab this for themselves and not allow Nigerians benefit fully from the intentions of government.
I always, whenever I talk, I still talk about courageous of a man we have as the president. This man have done it very well in Lagos State. Let us bring it back. If you have good team working with you, and you are able to supervise them, and they are reporting to you directly, I believe they could be checked. Because definitely we are not going to bring Chinese or Western country to come around our country. We still have to be the one to run the country. We just pray that is able to garner some of these trustworthy Nigerians that mean well for the Nigerians. I'm talking of mean well, not the people that are already rich and wanted to get richer than Jesus Christ. They already have this money, but I don't even think, do they think that they are going to carry this money?
It's man's insatiable appetite.
Exactly. So, believe me honestly, if he's able to have some of these good people surrounding him, not the so corrupt people that have been corrupted, and you still bring corrupt people into the system, they're going to corrupt you also. So I believe it could be curbed if the right people were channeling it. As you said, putting the money into the right thing to be done is very easy if it's a proper monitoring. Actually, look at the subsidy money. It's taking away almost about 3 ministries: education, health, and other ministries put together. So if the subsidy is removed, definitely most of this money will be channeled into some of these ministries.
Unfortunately, Nigerians also need to allow this to work. But then if we do not change, nothing can change.
We have to be patient.
You raised a question about, pipeline vandalism, oil theft, etc., etc. All these things have been happening on certain territories, governed by traditional rulers and people who are, seeing to the affairs of those communities. So if there are no internal collaborators, there's no way these people would have done, made away with, all of these, crimes. Sure. So how do we inspire attitudinal change in Nigerians?
Well, you said it. The government need to have meetings with some of these. If we could just hold the thoughts, we need to quickly go on a break. When we return, then we'll take it off from there. To stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were looking at the matter of NLC, that's organized labor, basically calling off its proposed strike that was meant to begin tomorrow. And we're looking into the issues, the demands, and the intrigues with regards to the removal of fuel subsidy and the fact that Nigerians have a role to play with regards to that. And we still have our guest in the studio with us, Wale Oyekoya. Before you asked the question talking about attitudinal change from Nigerians, and you were about to answer that too. Yeah. Just go ahead and respond. So the government just need to engage the stakeholders through the town hall meetings. It's like there's a new chef in town. Say what you have for the community. That we know you own these oil refineries. You own all these things. But this is what we are going to give to you in order for us to be able to do well in these sectors. By maybe improving the agricultural sector of the place. Most of these Nigeria debtors, they are complaining that their oil have been polluted, that they cannot do fishery, they cannot do the agriculture. So what do? That is why you have the stakeholder meeting. Then the youths, they are the future of this country. What do you have for them? Are we going to be importing our jobs or exporting them? So what do? You engage them by maybe through the agricultural sector, or the ICT, or the technology. Then infrastructures, where you are getting this oil, what do you give back to the community, to the society? So it's a town hall meeting. Discuss with them. We are all human beings. Oh, this government means well for us. Let us give him a chance. So that it will not be like other government that will be having that just promise and not keeping the promise. So to me, it's about negotiations. All right. This is what I have. This is what you are giving me. So that we discuss on the round table or square table, as you said. All right, let's go to our Abuja studio, where we have member-elect Amuward of Federal Constituency, Lagos State, Honorable Ogene Ego. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Yeah, thank you. I'm honored to be around.
Right. Now, let's begin with your reaction to, government and organized labor coming to a conclusion to put a hold on the proposed strike initially planned by organized labor with regards to this matter of fuel subsidy removal.
Well, my reaction is that labor should be patient. This is a new government. They've just come in, and they've just taken, about the first major decision. Labor should be patient and see what is happening. What I advise labor to do is not to be in a hurry, but to negotiate. Ask government for what they want. Don't forget that we've had this issue of subsidy albatross for over 20 years on our neck, and it's been taking away all the money of the government. The money we pay for subsidy is more than the money we pay for capital project every year. No country does that. And by the time you do that, you find out that the country will not develop. We award contracts for roads, no money for it. State governments are not having enough money. Local governments are not having enough money. Government cannot employ more people because all the money is going to subsidy. So the decision of this present government, President Tinubu, is the right decision. It's a bold decision. Many people will not be able to do it. Jonathan tried in 2012. He couldn't do it. Yar'Adua tried it, he couldn't do it. Our immediate past president, Buhari, tried it, he couldn't do it. He talked about palliative, but nothing happened. And today, Nigeria is sustaining about 12 African countries up to Sudan. They collected our fuel on subsidy, and Nigerians are the people suffering it. So if you remove this subsidy, like Kari, the minister, the MD of NLC said, if you remove this subsidy, you know, about 6.5 trillion naira will be saved. When you save that money goes into a federation account. It will be shared to the states, local government, and federal government. That way, they can employ more workers, they can increase salaries, they can carry out infrastructure. So my advice to Labour is let them be patient, because, like they say, if you do the same thing the same way over and over again, you cannot get a better result. Now, Labour is used to people say, oh, we want to remove it, but let's wait for palliative. You know, for over 20 years, Labour have been waiting for that. And the country is going down and down. You know, even the World Bank, IMF, everybody have said it. The palliative had to be removed. And all parties agree that it should be removed. So what we need to do is to praise the president for taking this very bold step. It's a bold step. You know, it's a bold challenge. Something for 20 years nobody has been able to do. And he has come in and said the subsidy is gone. But don't even forget that it's not as if it's Tinubu that removed subsidy. What happened is there is no budget for it. You know, with the PIA Act, there's supposed to be no subsidy. And the last administration of Buhari, you know, they did not make budgetary provision beyond June for subsidy. So how do you run it? The country will run to the ground. So I praise Mr. President for his action, and I will ask Labour to discuss with Mr. President. If they don't understand why the subsidy is removed, let them discuss with experts and have a better understanding. But I can assure you that the removal of this subsidy is going to help the common man, because salaries will be increased, because there will be more money. More workers will be employed. And of course, governments, local and state, cannot deploy more money to buy buses that can carry people to and fro at a cheaper rate, and it don't look like credit of the country, you know. Right. It's better that way. A situation where we have trillions is going to the pocket of less than 100 people and companies in a country of 230 million people. It's not acceptable. And when you continue to do that, you create poverty for everybody. I think this is what Mr. President wants to remove. Wants to adjust it.
That being said, let me allow me to butt in if you can hear me. Yeah. Allow me to butt in if you can hear me. It's so good that you praise the courage of this current administration for confirming that there is no subsidy, no provision for fuel subsidy, and then to ensure that the fuel subsidy regime doesn't continue. So it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to also realize that this is going to affect a lot of Nigerians. You are a member-elect, and then your constituents will always ask you, they will ask you questions. We are not really, I don't want to use the word suffering, but then we're having challenges, we're having problems in maybe living, you know, day to day. What measures, because the federal government and the unions are, you know, exploring different aspects of, you know, areas of negotiations. So what would you rather consider they put in place to cushion this impact on the majority of Nigerians?
Good. Now, before the President Buhari regime left office, they said they are borrowing 800 million US dollars, and they will give 5,000 naira to Nigerians. I don't think that is the approach. That approach is wrong, because people will collect the 5,000 naira and they will eat it. And besides that, you are not even sure if that money will go down. But what I think government needs to do, now that the subsidy is removed, across 6 months, across 1 year, a lot of money will be saved. What people are going to suffer is the rise in price of petrol, and the need to be able to go from one place to another in a way that will not over-affect their pocket. So what government needs to do across every state, and even to local government, is to buy buses, or rather give loan to private sector, because private sector can manage these buses very well, and give them routes that must take. the route that the common man takes to work, takes to the bush, takes to go and do his business. These buses will now carry people at a cheap price. That way, the effect of the petroleum product will now be reduced. That's what I think government needs to do, and must be done everywhere. And with the subsidy removal also, some of the money should be deployed into railway. Because if the railways are extended, then people can collect their produce. You know, you can go and buy produce from, for instance, you can buy yam from, let's say, Benue, and you can bring them to Lagos at a cheap price and to other parts of the country. You link it up. That way, people will be able to enjoy the benefit of the subsidy removal. Another thing government must think about is to increase salaries across the board.
Right.
Local government.
All right, Honorable Ego, we have to quickly move to the studio because our time is almost up. Now, your closing remarks on what government should do beyond the demands being put forward by organized labor, especially with regards to your sector, because that is one aspect that affects everyone.
Agriculture.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe in communications. The new government have to communicate with the people. Don't assume that people know what you have in your mind. Communicate with people that this is what we are going to do, especially in terms of agriculture, you said. This is the only sector that employs the largest volume of people in the country. So, but it has been put in the back burner now. So they really have to reform agriculture as of now because more than half of the farmers that I know have already went under for various reasons, either due to the herdsmen and farmers clashes, Boko Haram clashes, kidnapping, or lack of funds, or not getting enough land from the state government, or not giving you title for your land. So there have been so many perennial problems that the federal government really to say, what are the problems? Call the stakeholders in the agricultural sector that which way forward in order for us to leave oil now and be able to develop on our agricultural sector, and we'll be able to move forward and to reduce the price of all the foodstuffs in the country. All
right. This is where we'll draw the curtains on this conversation. We must thank you, Public Affairs Analyst and Agriculturist Wale Uyekoya, for your time on the program, as well as Abuja Studio guest, Member-elect Amuward of Federal Constituency, Lagos State, Honorable Ogene Ego, for your time on the program.